90% of people who stay poor aren't lazy. They're not unlucky. Most of them were simply never taught the rules of a game they've been playing their entire life. Even when you compare people with very low financial literacy to people with very high financial literacy, the low literacy group is twice as likely to be trapped in debt and 3 times more likely to be financially fragile. This has nothing to do with willpower. It's a knowledge gap, quietly deciding who gets rich and who doesn't. The percentage of U.S. adults with poor financial literacy jumped from 20% in 2017 to 25% in 2023. That gap isn't closing, it's growing, and it isn't spread evenly. Only 28% of Americans earning less than $25,000 a year are financially literate, compared to a much higher rate among high earners. Schools will spend years teaching you the quadratic formula. Almost none of them will spend a single class on what compound interest actually does to your life. This isn't just personal, it's national with a price tag. The lack of financial literacy cost Americans an estimated $388 billion in a single year, bled away through overdraft fees, predatory loans, and missed opportunities. And it hits the youngest generations hardest. Gen Z and millennials have the lowest financial literacy rates alive today, at just 38% and 45%. The generations with the most time to build wealth are starting furthest behind. Here's why this gap multiplies instead of staying the same size. Financial literacy isn't only taught in a classroom, it's inherited, quietly, at the dinner table. Wealthier families pass down lessons on investing and budgeting almost by accident. Meanwhile, kids growing up in poverty are often just trying to help their family make it through the month. Nobody explains what an index fund is or how debt compounds just as fast as savings do. So the gap gets copied, pasted, and handed down like an inheritance nobody asked for. But here's the hopeful part. Researchers studying households in the Netherlands, Japan, and rural China all found the same result, independent of culture or economy. Financial literacy directly increases household wealth every single time it's measured. This isn't a fixed trait like height, it's a skill, and skills can be learned at any age, starting today. So what does closing this gap actually look like? It starts small. Learning how compound interest works, for and against you, is an afternoon of reading most people never spend. Understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt can save someone tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. And simply talking about money openly, instead of treating it as taboo, is often the first step that breaks a cycle running quietly for generations. So let's bring this together. Financial illiteracy isn't a character flaw, it's an education gap, one that costs Americans hundreds of billions every year and gets passed down through families long before anyone notices. The people who escape it aren't smarter or luckier, they simply learned the rules, often later than they wish they had. And the earlier anyone learns them, the more time compound interest has to work in their favor instead of against them. Next time, we're breaking down the passive income myth nobody wants to admit is true. Thanks for watching. You're a legend. See you in the next one. Cheers.